Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Tonight, we'd like to talk about one other aspect of this constitutional amendment bill number 3. In the past, we have talked great lengths about what it is seeking to do to extend Mnangagwa's stay in office and to give dictatorial powers to the ZANU-PF dictatorship. The consequences of this constitutional amendment bill is to sink Zimbabwe into deeper economic and political instability. And some of the manifestations of that instability are already beginning to manifest themselves. There are reports that certain sections of society, including those in the army, have been vocal at rejecting this constitutional amendment bill. The problem with the army being involved here is that Zimbabwe has already had a military coup in 2017. So immediately the worry is, are we going to have yet another military coup as a result of this? That is a reality that we cannot ignore. Ben, welcome to the program.
Good day to you and good day to our viewers. Thank you for joining. You know, for me, the most worrying scenario with Zimbabwe is the fact that, you know, we had Mugabe for 37 years. And just when we got our constitution, you know, as a legal binding document, and it stated that, you know, there were 5-year terms, you know, 5-year term times 2, and that is it. We had taken a new chapter. And before we have even tried it out, ZANU-PF is already saying it's very little time. It's you know, it's absurd. You have not tried to see if it works or it doesn't. And you're already saying we want to get rid of it. We want to go as much as possible or stretch it or whatever. You know, they come up with so many, you know, excuses to violate the Constitution. And besides, we have never had, you know, a succession, you know, from one president to the other. Just now you're talking about a military coup, and we know that Mugabe was removed through a military coup. So how can you then justify to say, firstly, the 5-year term limits are too short when you have never tried them, when you've never used them? Secondly, you have never had a proper constitutional handover and takeover of power, and you're saying it doesn't work. You know, this is where you get to a situation where you actually say the Constitution of Zimbabwe is not worth the piece of paper that it is written on, because before it is even implemented and practiced, it's already altered so many times. It's a crime scene, like how, you know, Tendai Biti says.
To those of you who are able to join us, we are willing you are welcome to join us. You can use the link at the bottom of your screen and you can have your say. To those who have not heard what this crisis in the army is all about, here is an audio, somebody explaining what this crisis in the army is all about.
By Mashura, nguva inonaka ndekuti you see things in real time zvichiitika, zvinhu zvaunoziva kuti this is going to be history. This will be written in history books, and nekufamba kwetime kuchauya vana vedu vachazvistadha kuzvikoro kuti Mnangagwa akazouya akaz 3 rinova iro rakazomudonhedza, ende waiva nevanhu vaimusapota vakafanana nani vanani vanatemba muliswa etc, and this is how it happened. Chero isusu 20 years from now watogara kuti vana vako vakura kana kuti vazukuru panguva iyoyo. Mnangagwa achiomesa musoro shamwari, akatombozama kuudzwa tumaadvice. President wekusouth Africa vainzi Cyril Ramaphosa vakauya kuzotaura naye. Inenge yava history, but mune Zimbabwe ticonnecte madots esa tigare tiri up to date. Takudza kuti mukati memilitary right now, retired lieutenant general Winston Sigauke Mapranga paTwitter, paX, vabuti kuti pane masoja 65 atogwa for questioning kumabarracks ne-MID and its military intelligence, that enyaya yekuti musi wavanga vari paduty pakadistributwa maflyer anga akanyogwa kuti the People's Army, and the People's Army is a group remamilitary ari kuti iwo they will stand with the people. Kana vachida kuti CAB3 ribudirire, they have to go through a referendum, otherwise pasina referendum army will have to uphold the constitution. Murupabata. So from all angles, Mnangagwa.
So the bottom line here is that there are some elements in the army who are objecting to this constitutional amendment bill number 3. And according to this rumor, some of those people in the army have been arrested, 65 of them. This story is not a surprise to any thinking Zimbabwean out there. There is no doubt that this constitutional amendment bill number 3 is being forced down the throat of the nation. It is not going to help in creating a more just and economically prosperous nation. That is clear. We have said on this platform, this same individual, Emmerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, was never elected by the people of Zimbabwe. He came into power in 2017 on the coattails of the military coup. The people had no say in that. He promised to hold free, fair, and credible elections. We know he rigged the 2018 elections and went on to rig the 2023 elections. And we know that SADC and the AU election observers condemned that process as flawed. And he dismissed them with the usual contempt. This constitutional amendment bill number 3, he rigged the process to make sure that it goes through. If you can rig elections, rigging a constitutional amendment bill is a walk in the park. So instead of it creating stability, this constitutional amendment bill is creating even more instability. Anyone from outside who can see this constitutional amendment bill, they will know what it is about. It's about power. About Emerson Mnangagwa desperately trying to extend his stay in office at all costs. That can only mean one thing: somebody who is desperate to stay in power and a country that is politically unstable. This is not promoting Zimbabwe as a stable country. Forget about Mnangagwa's promise to deliver Vision 2030. What he has delivered in so many ways is a Zimbabwe that is politically unstable. Like Ben said, we have failed to have a peaceful transfer of power in 46 years and counting. That is the tragedy of Zimbabwe. And we have to address that problem. And this constitutional amendment bill, instead of resolving our political instability, is making the situation even worse. That is the message we would like to leave with Zimbabweans today. Ben, do you want to give your concluding remarks?
I remember when this whole bill and, or suggestion, when it was still a suggestion, and Patrick Chinamasa stated that, you need at least 2 referendums for this whole bill to go through. And, ZANU-PF being ZANU-PF, instead of watering it down to even 1, they have decided to, rubbish everything and just bulldoze their way through. Anybody that was present or not present and saw through social media, could see that, the hearings that they were conducting were so biased. It was so choreographed that you could see that people were talking, but those that were talking, most of them did not even know what it was all about. After that, I think the worst part after that is now they have come up with these figures that are showing that, people that are supporting the bill are over 90%. And then this here actually comes to mind to say, look, Emerson Mnangagwa won an election by just over 50%. It was a tight race. How on earth has he managed just in 2 years or 3 years, managed to turn the whole thing to nearly 100% support? I mean, this is how ZANU-PF does the thing, especially when it comes to, elections. And in this platform, we've always warned people that, participating in ZANU-PF sponsored, shenanigans is futile. ZANU-PF rigs processes. ZANU-PF manipulates processes. And in the very end, our participation is what grants ZANU-PF legitimacy. This bill is surely going to go through because ZANU-PF will make sure it goes through. And they said this at the very beginning when they had their, Congress or gathering. where they said, we are definitely going to do this. ED30 is not going to stop. And they have made sure that it doesn't stop. But the unfortunate thing is, like we are hearing from these leaked audios, it's obvious there is tension within ZANU-PF itself. We know that there is the likes of the general, retired General Chiwenga, vice president. He saw himself as the next top dog. And it was some promise or some discussion that they had with the president, but things have changed. So obviously there is tension. And we have noticed, we have also seen how some generals just mysteriously fell sick, accidents within a short period of time. That is how ZANU-PF does its cleaning up, how the ZANU-PF does its work. The biggest problem and the sad part about all this is that 46 years is a very long time. A country that is supposed to be independent, sovereign, democratic. We actually call ourselves democratic, but we have never, ever had a successful handover and changeover of power. That is not democratic. That is not democracy. You cannot preach something that you have never done. You cannot talk about something that you have never done. Other countries that have seen, South Africa, Botswana, Malawi, Zambia, they can talk of democracy as a democratic country because they have practiced it. They have done it. They have experienced it. We have not. We have only changed over through a military coup. So that is not democratic at all. Zimbabwe is not a democracy. And by so, even if we have election, it is futile for us to be participating in those elections. Because ZANU-PF will make sure that they rig those elections and get their way. Thank you.
These reports of these individuals in the army who have been arrested, it is absolutely important that ZANU-PF should understand that arresting these people is not going to end the problem. It's only going to make it worse. And for the army itself, I would like to remind everybody in the army that the 2017 military coup solved nothing. If anything at all, it fueled the dictatorship, landing us where we are today. It is absolutely important that those in the army and the war veterans begin to realize the one reason why Zimbabwe is a failed state. It is the failure by ZANU-PF, those in the army, those in the war veterans, to accept the political reality that every Zimbabwean has a right to a meaningful say in the governance of the country. The threatened military coup should not be fueled by the belief that ZANU-PF or individuals in ZANU-PF have the right, the divine right to rule Zimbabwe. This is only going to perpetuate the dictatorship. The 2017 military coup was a mistake in itself. It was doubly so when it sought to replace Mugabe with Mnangagwa. That wasn't the problem. That wasn't solving the problem. The problem was we have a dictatorship. And swapping one dictator for another does not solve anything. I must admit that the threat for a military coup has been precipitated by Mnangagwa's Constitution Amendment Bill number 3. That cannot be denied. The solution: release those who have been arrested, and those in the army should also accept the reality that this belief that certain individuals have the divine right to rule the country is not the solution to the problem. It's only compounding the problem. Think about it. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.